Which yarn? The pattern is for self-striping yarn.
Okay.
But this one's a single. And this is self-striping, but it's not as self-striping. It's the flamingo yarn. It's just mixed. It's a different colorway.
Okay.
It's the same as the Hermione.
It's soft.
It is. It's Cloudborn.
Right.
Cloudborn fibers, superwash merino fingering, dyed by Lorna's Laces.
Yeah.
In Magpie. There's that, or there's this one.
I really like this one. It's wild. Right?
It's very something.
So give it a
and
try.
This is nice yarn.
It is. They're both nice.
They're both nice yarn.
But this one is like exciting, right? Yeah.
That was what I was thinking, but then I was like, no, I need to have like a real sock yarn because that one's a single.
Any yarn can be a real sock yarn. Just saying. Goodness.
I mean, certain judges disagree.
If you make it into a sock, it's a sock yarn.
I mean, that's how I feel, but not everyone agrees with me. Other people are wrong. It's fine.
True.
So, hello, everybody. We
Hello.
are here, and I am going to be dealing with some yarn bark. Nope, I found it. Okay, nope, I'm still going to have some yarn bark happening. Yep, okay, cool.
You're here in knit camera action. I realize we don't say that a lot.
We don't.
But that's us.
No, we're
Hello.
going to, like, actually try and know what we're talking about and not just talk to each other today. That's news to Stephanie. But,
It's okay.
you know, whatever. We're doing things.
I'm just here.
We're here. We're knitting.
I just work here.
What could go wrong? We're here and we're knitting. So, like.
Yeah. That's good.
That's the goal. We were doing that.
Yes.
We're good. It's fine.
We're winning.
Yay. And so are you, if you're here knitting
Absolutely.
with us. Or if you're not knitting, if you're crocheting, or if you're just sitting here watching us.
Yeah, that's okay too.
All good too.
We're not here to judge.
No.
You do you.
Yep. It's all good. Well, that's 2 stitches, so that's my whole cast on.
Wow.
I know.
Okay. What kind of socks are you knitting that 2 stitches is your whole cast on?
So they are, let me see if I printed the part that has the designer's name. If not, I'll have it in the bottom. But they are the Carousel socks, and they are available for free on Knitty.com, but nope, I don't have the designer's name, sorry, I'll have that off on the side. You knit basically like a strip, and then connect it around, and it spirals around your whole foot. So you're starting with the 2 stitches, and then you increase, and then you start knitting around, so that way you get the spiral, because you're starting with like a little wedge.
Okay.
Down at the toe.
Okay.
Which, yeah, that's what's going on.
Well, I wondered if it was skew. Because
It's
they also
not
start
skew.
with 2 stitches.
No, it's not skew.
And I've made skews, but I've never made carousels, so this is exciting.
Yeah. So it's a lot from what I've read. It's a lot like, what's it called? I think a 10-stitch blanket.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that always comes up in my scrappy searches.
Sure. It ends up with a different number of stitches that I'm not going to tell you the number of stitches because it's a free pattern anyway. But I'm not going to give away proprietary information.
Some stitches, maybe even 3.
More than 2.
More than 2. Oh.
More than 2. I have many rows of increasing.
Oh.
So there you go.
Undisclosed number.
But I am starting this for Summer Sock Camp 2024 is the thing that we're doing. You have an event tomorrow that you need to finish things for.
I do.
So tell us about that.
It is a baby shower for a friend, and she is having it's a human, but we don't know what variety. So at Rebecca's excellent suggestion, I took some of the leftover yarn from the dinosaur blanket for my niece and have made this. Basically, it's a dishcloth pattern, but it is now stripy blanket.
No, it's a blanket. It's a baby blanket because it's bigger.
Right. So it's the dishcloth pattern. I'm doing the dishcloth, like everyone knows, the grandmother's favorite or whatever you want to call it, dishcloth. And if you don't know, Well, let me introduce you to a whole new world of dishcloths. So this
Dishcloths,
one starts with 4 stitches, which
Whoa.
I don't need to tell you is twice as many as you're
That's
using right now.
so many stitches.
Yeah, it was
I
exhausting.
can't even.
Actually, this one started with 3.
I think it does start with 3.
Yeah. Oh well. Usually when I make the dishcloth, I start with 4 and with 4, but this one, I guess we're going down to 3. Whatever, it's fine.
Sure.
So yeah, I bought a couple skeins of this. This is an Encore yarn. It's their like marley twisty type of. I don't remember what it's actually called, but it's got like white and yellow twisted together in the different plies and different concentrations of yellow and white versus the yellow. So it has a little stripiness to it, but not too much. You can kind of see it in the larger piece down here, where there's like a white section, or more white. It's not really ever white because, well, it's a baby, so stuff. Anyway, it will use 5 skeins of yarn. I went up to, it was over 100 stitches, but I don't remember exactly how many. It was like,
you messaged me 107.
Okay, well then there you go.
Something like that.
It was somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yep.
And then started the decreases, and so here we are. Hopefully I can get this done for the shower. The yarn is held doubled, so it goes really quickly. I've gone through two days that I've been working on this blanket. I've gone through an entire skein in 1 day. So,
it's really awesome.
There you go.
And I'm sorry, I wasn't listening because I was trying to do my sock. Did you say what size needle you're on?
Big.
Big.
Real big. I believe these are 13,
15, something like that.
Yeah. They're big. They're big. Large and in charge.
There you go.
So, yeah, that's what I've been working on, and it is very nice. It's a nice kind of a palette cleanser. I had a big project, as you know. It was a top that was a staple for the yarn store, and it was orange, and it's lovely. It's gorgeous. I'm so pleased with it because, like, it's one of those things, like, you finish it, and you look at it, and you're like, wow.
Oh my gosh, I did that.
I did that. I made that. I cabled all those rolls. Like,
all those rows.
So, it was a lot. But it's nice and it's done.
It's done.
Which is
and it's gone.
a wonderful status for
That's
it because
nice.
it was a lot. So now it's all done.
Yay.
And it's off to the yarn store, and you know, I hope it has a great life.
Yep. Yeah. It's a good time.
So yeah, this has been a nice little palette cleanser after that. Knock one of these babies out. Hopefully bring it to the baby shower tomorrow. And then I can see what else I want to make for babies, because I got all these babies in my life. Maybe they need some socks.
Maybe they need some socks.
So, tell me about sock camp. Because
So,
I don't know, like, there's so many, like, sock events.
There are. And you
different
have
things.
done, what is it?
Couple different
Sock
ones.
Madness? Is that the one that's
I've done
in March?
Sock Madness, yeah, and I've done Tour de Sock.
Mm-hmm.
And I even did, I'm trying to think of what the name of it was, but it was like a scary sock type of thing in like September, October.
Okay,
Spooky, scary socks. I don't know.
Spooky, scary,
Another fun
socks.
one. Most of these are free or very low cost or charitable donation type of thing.
Sure.
Just because that's typically how I roll. But what is Summer Sock Camp?
So Summer Sock Camp is a completely free, just actually knit along. Klaus is very sad that he can't be part of it.
Yeah,
and it is hosted by Kay from the Crazy Sock Lady, or who is the Crazy Sock Lady, whatever the correct terminology there is. But she's the one who hosts it, and it's on Instagram, it's on Ravelry. She has her own group on Ravelry and like the forums and things. I was listening for the dog.
Checking on the dog.
But yeah, I mean, it starts today, which is May 24th. This won't get posted today, but, you know, starts today. Kay has her video up today, which is, you know, appropriate. And then it runs through August 31st. And it is just a make-along where people post their pairs of socks. That's really about the only criteria, is that you post pairs of socks.
Okay.
They can be works in progress, they can be DK, they can be baby socks, they can be adult socks, they can be shorty socks, they can be, like, really, it's just socks. And then as long as you use the hashtag on Instagram, I definitely know the rules for Instagram. I'll have all of Kay's like official information down there, so you know you can have for sure the right information, because I might be incorrect about how it works on Ravelry. But as long as you have the hashtag on Instagram, occasionally throughout the summer, and then at the close, she will draw people from the hashtag Summer Sock Camp 2024, and send out all sorts of prizes. She's gotten so many prize donations. Yarn, patterns, project bags,
This sounds
notions.
awesome.
It is really awesome. She also has like I don't know what shop it's through, but she has like merch
Okay.
and like a logo, and we'll talk about the logo in a minute because that gets us to another topic, but whatever. She's got all sorts of stuff. And it used to be a bigger thing where there were like classes involved, but now it's just, you know, post things. And then I think on Ravelry, the stipulation is that you have to post finished socks instead of just like anything that has Summer Sock Camp 2024 in it. Yeah, but definitely I'll have the real rules in the description. But I thought it would be a little interesting because I work at a different school than you do, and I have different calendar than you do.
Yes.
So my school year has now finished up, and you unfortunately have another month. But
True.
fun times up here.
Thanks.
So I've been spending a lot of time wandering around Ravelry and seeing the things that Ravelry has to offer. And one of the things that I've noticed is that you can go into your projects and click index, and it will tell you how many of each type of thing you've done.
What?
Yes!
That's so cool.
So because I found that button, I now know that I have done something with 55 sock patterns.
Ooh.
And you have done something with 70 sock patterns. So, while we certainly do not know all the sock things, I feel like we have a good bit of sock experience. Now, that does include the socks that like have been frogged or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's not.
Okay. But that's experience.
That's still experience, you know? So we do, between the two of us, have quite a bit of sock experience.
Yeah.
So I figured maybe, you know, let's talk socks a little bit. And I feel like when you start talking socks with people, one of the first questions is toe up or cuff down. And I used to have a very strong opinion about this. That's kind of changed, but I would like to hear what you have to say first.
You know, I feel like I want to have an opinion and I just don't. That's my thing. Like I wanted to, like, you know, at one point it was like, ooh, toe up socks are the thing. Everyone likes toe up socks. And I was like, okay, toe up socks are really cool, but also like
so are cuff down socks.
Down socks are pretty cool too.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, they both have their uses and their like good points, and you know, if maybe you've got somebody with a particular type of foot that you're trying to fit, there's, you know, good
there's benefits either way. Yeah, you might want to cuff down sock for one foot and a toe up sock from another foot.
It just depends.
It depends. And yeah, that's kind of what I was going to say. When I first started making socks, I really liked cuff down socks because when I would make toe up socks, I would have this issue, because it's not really an issue, but I would have this issue where I would get through the heel and I'd be like, whatever, it covers your foot, it's done. It's a sock, it's done. I don't need to do the whole leg. So then I stuck with cuff down socks for a really long time so that I could get, you know, a whole sock. I've learned to not do that anymore.
Okay.
So I
growth.
Yeah,
you're exhibiting growth.
I can do a whole sock toe up and still, you know, do a leg on it and everything. That's where I'm at. But that's yeah. So I did really like cuff down socks for a while because it just helped with my attention span on the sock. But now, yeah, I mean, I've done enough socks in enough ways that it's like, yeah, whatever, I'll do whatever the pattern says. If I like that sock, I'm going to do that, because there's definitely I find it mostly with lace socks. You get different options based on the directionality of your knitting.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. That makes sense.
The way like your decrease is point, or the way that your yarn over is open, or something like that.
So it's interesting that your pseudo preference is also linked to the timing, or the perceived timing of the sock, because I feel like with a cuff down sock that like the foot basically knits itself.
Yes.
Like I just you
get past
through
the gusset.
Through the even through the heel.
Well,
and then you're like,
really
okay.
past the gusset because I have tiny little baby elf feet.
You do have baby elf feet. Yes.
So like it really is. I get past the gusset.
You really
and
are
like
kind of
I
home
have
free at
2
that
more
point.
inches till the toe. Because I really do have tiny feet.
I mean, you're not wrong.
I'm not wrong.
I mean,
but yeah, no,
but
definitely
even for
you
my
get past the heel,
average human
you're
size
like,
feet.
Okay, yeah,
Like,
I'm mostly
right,
done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And something about toe up, you get through the heel and you're into the cuff part, and you're just like
into the leg, yeah.
Yeah,
into the leg. I have so much more sock to do.
I don't know. Sometimes it can kind of drag.
Yeah.
But it can kind of drag the other way too.
It can.
Especially on that leg. I don't know what it is about the leg.
Well, because the other thing about
interminable.
Like if you're going cuff down, if you're doing a pattern, you get past the heel and you have half the pattern because the bottom of your foot is all stockinette. And if you've been doing toe up, now you have twice the amount of pattern.
The exhausting part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
that's
sometimes
true.
you feel like it, and sometimes you don't, and that's fine.
This is really an interesting psychological look at sock making and front loading the work.
Cool. Do we have anything else to say about toe up or cuff down? Or
anything? I think I mean,
similar. Probably not all the rest of them will be that long.
Okay, well, but, I mean, I don't know, like, bind-offs versus cast-ons.
Right,
like,
well, These could be like
more
whole
questions
discussions
that you want to dig in
they
on.
Could
I don't
be,
know.
But if we
or
get
like
to them,
different heel types.
Yeah. If you have any preferences, there's nothing stopping you from talking about them now.
I like ones where they write out the directions so that I can follow them instead of just saying, knit your favorite heel. Like, well, I mean, do I have opinions? Yes.
Sure.
Do I necessarily want to look them up?
Well, and sometimes, like, don't get me wrong, I love a short row heel.
Sure.
But sometimes it just doesn't go with that pattern.
Sure.
Like, if you have a very vertical pattern, it feels weird to stick a short row heel in there instead of, like, a slip stitch heel. Or, like, if you do the slip stitch heel, which I think is just called a slip stitch heel, where you're, like, always slipping the same one, and it kind of gives you that, like, fake rib.
Oh, yeah.
As opposed to the slip stitch heel, where you're alternating the one, and you get, like, that checkerboard look.
Yes.
They just have a different look. And sometimes that is something to keep in mind, and sometimes it doesn't matter. And ultimately, none of it matters because you're sticking it in your shoe. True. But at the same time, you're like, hey, this is a thing I'm spending time on. I want it to look a certain way. And yeah, sometimes you're just like, yes, I want to do this. I want to do the right heel. And then sometimes you're sitting there, at least for me, and I'm like, yeah, I don't care. I'm just going to do the heel I want to do. And I don't look up the pattern again to find out what the heel was. I memorize the leg pattern or whatever, and I'm like, oh, I'm at the heel now. I'm just going to do my heel. So, I mean, that happens sometimes, too.
Oh, I think part of, like, the reason that I will seek out a pattern is so that I don't have to invent things as I go.
Sure.
Figure out the counts.
Or, like, the counts when you're turning the actual heel turn. Because, like, if you're doing a heel flap and gusset, the heel flap is not hard.
Right.
But the actual counts on your heel turn.
Right. And it can get a little tricky.
It can get tricky. And it can get just obnoxious. Not even tricky, but just obnoxious. If you're doing something like, oh, well, this is a 1.5 needle sock instead of the 1 needle sock. And so now I'm doing 60 stitches instead of 64. And so now, even if you have heel numbers memorized, now they've changed because you have a different number of stitches. You know?
Exactly.
It's just like a whole thing. Now, do you have a preferred method of knitting? By that I mean, like, magic loop versus DPN versus like a 9-inch circular versus, I mean, I guess there's still seam socks. You could seam a sock.
So,
Did it flat and seam it. Or you could be crazy like me.
I like magic loop and I like double points. And I have done 2 at a time on 1 magic loop and 2 at a time on 2 circulars. That was not my favorite. I
2
like
at a time
either,
on 2 circulars?
Yeah.
Okay.
I prefer either like a magic loop to wrangle or double points to wrangle. And
Okay.
Yeah.
Not the 2 circulars.
No.
Yeah, I guess I like 2 circulars for sleeves.
Yeah.
But not so much for socks.
But not for socks. And
Yeah.
the little tiny circulars, no thank you.
Yeah, I don't like them.
Not
And I don't know what the deal is, but like, I don't know if it's just like my tension or what it is, but I feel like I can't get around a 9-inch circular with less than 72 stitches.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's just not comfortable.
No,
Oh, right.
like I
Yeah.
can't close it.
Yeah.
I need 72 stitches to get around the 9 inches.
Wow. Interesting.
I will wear like a...
Is it because you have elf feet?
No, because like the ball of my foot is a good 8.75 inches because
Okay.
I measure my feet. And I will wear socks with 56 stitches and that's fine.
Right.
But if I'm physically knitting,
Yeah.
I can't. Well, it's just that cast on row,
Okay.
which is always tighter.
Right.
I can't get through that cast on row with less than 72 stitches. So I guess I could start it out on magic loop and then put it on a 9-inch circular. But also, why?
Right.
You know, if I'm going to start at magic loop, I might as well just start it. I mean, just do
Yeah,
it magic
Keep
loop,
it magic
you know?
loop. Yeah.
The one thing that I will say is I do really like 2 at a time magic loop when cables are involved.
2 at a time magic loop and cable. Yes.
Because then you know that the
What
cables are
row
happening
you're
at the
on.
same time.
Yes.
I really like that for cables. Because,
Ugh.
oh my gosh, I don't know how you did that top. But,
I had a spreadsheet.
yeah, like, I've done, like, the most recent cable project that I did, is the Alice hoodie that I did. And I was using, like, color-coded stitch markers, and I was, like, moving my stitch markers every single row so that I always, and I mean, that was, like, a cardigan, so everything was happening, but to keep it, you know, I think it was technically, like, an 8-row cable, to make sure that it was always an 8-row cable. I had 3 pink stitch markers and 1 green, and the green one was on the so I'd move it on every knit row, you know,
okay.
and like that's what I had to do to even on a cardigan to count it.
Yeah.
So I do definitely like doing 2 at a time for a cable sock.
That makes sense.
Other things, I mean, lace charts are usually like memorizable, or they are so specific that like you're not going to get off, you know. And again, the same for color work. Not that they're memorizable, but like the charts are so specific that you're not going to be off. You're going to notice that you're off, and then you're going to go and fix it.
Right.
So
cables are hard to spot how many rows. That's
it really is. It is hard.
It's tough.
So definitely like 2 at a time for
I've
that.
gotten better at it, but I'm still not always sure until I'm sure. You know?
Right?
Sometimes
Yeah,
I'm
and then you've like done it wrong,
and it takes my
and
time.
you notice that you did it wrong 3 cables ago.
Ooh.
Yep. Let's not do that.
That's a bad day.
That is a bad day.
So, tell me about your summer sock camp plans.
My summer camp plans are
Did
to
I
do.
jump ahead?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
It's just me again wandering around Ravelry. So,
Why am I imagining you walking through like pages of the internet in like a nightgown, a long, like respectable nightgown, but you're still like trudging through like
with a higher collar than I'm currently wearing.
And you're like trudging through with a candle, looking at all these sock patterns. I don't know why. That's just what I envision right now. Go on.
Okay. So, little other thing about me is that I have a tattoo, and when I walked into the tattoo parlor, I know it's scandalous.
Everyone
but when I
will
walked
know.
into the
Everyone
tattoo
will
parlor,
know.
the guy who owned it, who's all tattooed everywhere, right? I was like, I would like to get a tattoo. He's like, okay. What are you thinking for a tattoo, crazy lady? And I was like, oh, Klaus is going to be involved somehow. There's probably a squirrel in my backyard.
Wow.
Or the mail is here. One of those
I think
two.
it might be the mail because I thought I heard a little noise.
It was something in the backyard. I don't know what.
Mysterious. One of my cats got out the other day, Pete,
Mm-hmm.
and he encountered a bunny. Yes.
What?
They both froze and looked at each
Sure.
other.
So,
Oh dear.
I have a bit of a sock library here.
Oh my.
And I have entered all of these books, which, by the way, is 52 Weeks of Socks, the first volume. Sock Architecture by Laura Neal, 100 Knits from Interweave. Favorite Socks, 25 Timeless Designs from Interweave, and a little box of socks by Charlene Church and Beth Parrott.
It's S Church.
It's S Church.
So we're going with
these are
Church.
most of my books that have sock patterns in them. Not all of them. Yeah, anyway, so my tattoo story. He asked me what kind of tattoo I wanted to get, and I said a stack of books and yarn, and then everything made sense to him. That was okay. He's like, okay, books and yarn. You look
Yes.
like a lady who'd get tattoo
Yes.
of books and yarn.
Books and
yes,
yarn.
books
Yes.
and yarn.
Yes.
So, books and yarn. So the nice thing, though, thing that I have found, if you tell Ravelry that you have these books, you can do a Ravelry pattern search and the availability of in your library. And then if you click those 3 little dots, you can hide the things you've already done. You can hide things from this search. And then you can randomize order.
That's cool.
And so after these carousel socks,
Oh, boy.
my actual plan is to go, but I have over 200 pairs of socks currently in my library. Between these books, between individual patterns that I've already purchased, between free patterns that I've put in my library, between a couple other books that I didn't grab, I have over 200 pairs of socks. So my current plan is just to randomize, put it in a random order, which, by the way, it takes an entire calendar day for that to refresh. This is also a thing that I know now.
Must plan ahead. Okay.
Yeah, so, it gives you your random order, which, to be fair, it's a computer. It's not really
Sure,
random, whatever.
sure,
But,
okay.
yeah, that's your random order for the day. The next day, you can get a new random order. But my plan is to just go in, put all those qualifiers on my advanced search, and have Ravelry pick socks for me.
This is so cool.
Yeah, that's where my sock patterns are coming from this
Wow.
summer, and
Okay.
probably for the foreseeable future, to be realistic.
Fun.
Because then I don't actually have to pick. And, with 200 patterns, I've got a really good mix of, plain socks and lace socks and cabled socks and colorwork socks and all the different types of socks, whatever other socks that I've mentioned.
Socks. I think
Socks.
you need to, one more time.
There is another pair of brioche socks that I don't have any brioche socks.
That's one that
Currently.
I did legitimately frog, was a
Yeah.
pair of 2-color brioche socks
Oh,
from
gosh.
Tour de Sock many years ago.
Yeah.
Hat tip to that year. That was the year, those were like the 6th pair in the competition, and those are the ones that took me out.
I also have the Happily Knitting socks
Yes.
by Mr. Knit Bear and Dennis, I'm going to go with.
Okay. I have that book as well.
Yes. I think both of us, it was sent to us by our friend.
Yes.
And this just showed up at my house one day with yarn. So I have that in there too.
We have good friends.
We have good friends, yeah. And then I just have other random books that, and here's this pair of socks. And it's like, the 101 One Skein Wonder books.
Speaking of which,
Uh-huh.
I discovered I have 2 copies of the same book. It's
Yeah.
the one for the local yarn shops one.
Oh, I have a designer yarn. I think, which isn't all of it designer yarn, except for Cascade.
Yeah, I mean, I have one that's definitely Cascade, but I don't know. Anyway.
It seemed weird, but okay.
Knitting book libraries.
Knitting book libraries.
That's a whole
Different thing, man.
man.
It's a whole thing.
Although
So,
it is
yeah.
kind of nice to look over my bookshelf and see a book with
Uh-huh.
somebody who I know,
Sure.
to have their name on a book.
That
And
is
I know,
true.
it's not the same sense of pride that she feels looking
Right,
at the book, but
right.
like yeah, I know her.
Well, and not to
She
drop
stayed at my
names or
house.
anything,
Yeah.
but I do have one of the printed Knit Princess compilation books, and so that has patterns. And Allison does live in our general area.
That's true.
So, yeah. And our friend who does On the Own Star, I think she knows Allison.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah. So that's a thing. Yeah. So then I've got currently, and you're gonna laugh because it's so cute. I have about, I want to say, I've got about 25 yarns that are like sock appropriate. So then depending on the pattern that comes up, then I'll pick my yarn from there.
Okay, makes sense.
So I say it's so cute because Stephanie has a rather large stash.
I do. It is rather large.
It's her stash of fingering weight yarn is a bit bigger than
your
25.
entire stash.
Yeah.
Yes.
There is that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's all good.
It is, and you know, I like it. I like having my yarn.
It's fine.
We have a yarn club at school, and one of the students mentioned that she has a lot of yarn, and I just said, "Oh,
do you? Aw.
What?
Okay.
How much is a lot?" And she's like, "Oh, I have a bin, and it's like this big, and it fits under my desk. I have to put it under my desk." And I was like, "Cool."
Yeah, I had that conversation with somebody at my school too, and she has 6 extra skeins of yarn.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I know.
She
I was
gonna
like, oh honey.
Yeah,
that's so cute. And she was like, I feel really bad because like I have 3 projects going at the same time, and I was just like, okay. And she's like, you probably think that's so terrible. I was like, hon, I have. This was before I narrowed it down last summer. I have 12 right now. I have 12 projects that I'm actively bouncing between. Not that that's good. I mean, if you're a monogamous knitter, that's fine.
Hold on. Actively bouncing between?
Yes.
Wow.
That's why I told you I needed to get it down to 7
that makes
because.
Sense. Yep.
Yeah, and
that
then
makes sense.
It was one of those things where like nothing was getting done and nothing was getting done and nothing was getting done and nothing was getting done, and then everything was done because I was actively working on everything all at the same time, except for the Hexie Puff blanket because that never got done. I mean, I was working on Hexie Puffs, but the Hexie Puff blanket is just, or it's Beekeeper's Quilt actually is the name, but that thing just goes forever.
It does.
So.
I probably have at least 3 works in progress that I have completely forgotten exist.
I haven't forgotten they exist. I just choose to not acknowledge them.
Okay.
I know all of my works in progress.
Yes.
It's just some of them I don't
I
acknowledge.
believe that you do. I do not.
That's fair.
I used to be able to remember quite a bit more about these things, but I filled my brain with other nonsense since then. So
yeah.
Here we are. I used to finish things. Now I sometimes finish things. I do finish things from time to time. But that's okay.
Probably count my stitches.
I should probably work on my stash. This is actually a stash busting event, though, because I bought too much dinosaur yarn.
Yes.
And now I will have less
extra yarn
by buying 3 more yarns. I'm getting rid of 2.
So the 3
it's a net
are going away. The 2 are going away.
Yes.
So yes, it is overall fewer.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
Progress.
It counts.
So I'm kind of excited about this sock camp situation because I have 2 socks with accompanying rest of the skein that will be the rest of that sock and the pair shoved in my purse.
Yay!
Yeah.
And now you have a reason to do that.
So I'm not even on like singular purse sock situation. I have 2 pairs of socks in my purse, which is a totally normal thing that normal people do.
Yeah.
So
obviously.
Yes. Even my non-yarny friends are starting to adjust. They're starting. It's okay.
I mean, we could discuss that whole statement of non-yarny friends. But
well,
I mean, sometimes you have to be friends with people you work with. I get it.
There is a conversion process.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I've gotten.
We got the one.
2 of them have woobles.
There you go. Yeah.
And one of them has mostly completed the wooble.
Yeah.
Whereas the other one
was
is
it the
mostly completing a baby.
the turtle?
So yes.
The turtle.
The
What's
turtle.
his name? Eduardo?
No.
I want to say something like that.
It is something. I feel like it starts with an E.
I feel like it starts with an E.
Emilio?
Maybe.
Emilio.
Maybe Emilio.
Emilio the turtle. Yes,
Eduardo is the caterpillar that my child found outside.
Oh.
I named it Eduardo.
Yeah.
The child did not.
Okay.
I found a green caterpillar. Is it named Eduardo? I don't know.
He is now.
It is now.
It's all good.
No, it is Eduardo.
Yeah. My other wooble owning friend has grown a baby.
Yeah, that kind of takes up your time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got 2 purse socks, and I've got a couple skeins of yarn that either Smokey or Pete took for a ride up and down the stairs a couple of times.
As they
so
do.
they have been tussled a little bit. They're fine.
They're flexible.
They're fine.
Yeah.
They're just not.
They're not pretty anymore.
Gonna sit on the shelf.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are sitting.
I mean, they can be untangled and then they'll be
They're not
pretty
even
again.
really tangled. They're
Oh,
just
okay.
must.
Just unlike
like they've had their hair
the
tousled.
green yarn
Yeah.
that they got a hold of.
Right. So
That was the time.
which skein of green was that? I don't even remember. It was one of these greens, and it went into what my son dubbed yarn chaos because it got carried up and down the stairs and wrapped around the kitchen table and everything. And I was holding this yarn doubled as well, so it was even more of an interesting feat to untangle it.
Because both ends were being used.
Yes.
It was a whole thing.
Rebecca kindly sat and untangled quite a bit of it at Starbucks one night. So
I did.
that was
It was
very
just
helpful.
like, A, it needed to be done.
Right.
And B, it was giving me anxiety to look at.
So win-win for everybody.
Win-win for everybody. And then Stephanie actually got to knit.
I did.
And I untangled things because I have, so much more time to knit than you do. So I untangled and you knit, and it was great.
It was
It was good. It was very nice.
Editing Rebecca here. Seems like we got a little carried away with our sock talk. So we are going to be breaking this one into 2 videos. So be on the lookout. We're going to be talking about the summer sock theme in the next video and then catching you up on these projects. That one will be coming out hopefully a little bit sooner than our usual video. Thanks so much for joining us. Let us know if you have some summer sock camp plans or just any summer knitting plans. And hopefully we'll see you again next time. Thanks, everybody.